Today's episode is about development, not just getting recruited, but actually becoming the player that deserves that opportunity. And to break it down, I've got someone who has lived both sides of this as a JUCO head coach, as well as a private trainer and a high school baseball coach. You know, he's sent hundreds probably of guys to the college baseball level. And so John Scanzano leads Camden County College Baseball and has been developing players in New Jersey for many years. His track record speaks for itself. National titles at the high school level, D1 commits, and JUCO players getting four-year opportunities as well. So this episode is about really moving the needle and helping you perform at your highest level. So John, thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And I'm sorry, I'm not Italian, so it's always a practice to try to get those last names right.
Well, you actually said it correctly. A lot of non-Italians get it wrong, but you got it right.
Okay, I've watched a lot of Italian. I watched The Godfather for many of my childhood years. So
absolutely. I mean, shoot, yeah, I live my life by The Godfather. That's the movie for to help you with everything.
That's something else we can unpack. Maybe not today, but something we can definitely unpack.
No problem. Yeah, I'm an Italian from South Philly, so but it's all good.
So you've coached at the high school level, the travel level, the college level, like private development. You've done all these things. Like, what would you say is like what has stayed the same over the years about good player development, and what's maybe changed over the last 5 years?
I wouldn't say much has changed as far as the development piece. No matter what level you're at, you're always developing for something. In travel ball, you have the small field, the little guy, 8-year-old fields, and then they go to the 10-year-old and 11-year-old field, then they go to the 12-year-old field, then they get to the 60-90 field, which is always the biggest shock for because those little dudes that were hitting home runs all the time, now they're hitting routine fly balls. Once they get on the big field and learning the game, I mean, I would say that is one of the biggest things that you have to focus on in travel ball. And what made us successful is helping kids understand how to play the game when they get on the big field. Like, I remember one of the first times I coached a 13U team. It was like our first practice, and I'm talking to them, and I asked the whole team, I'm like, all right, guys, so a ball gets hit the center field or the outfield. There's a play at the plate. Who's the cutoff? And all 12 of them at the same time said the pitcher. And I was like, huh? Like, what the pitcher? What are you guys learning? But, when you're on the small field, the pitcher, does everything. So that was big for them. And after our first practice, I had dads come up to me and say, hey, my son just learned more in that one practice than he has in the past 5 years. Because they really don't get taught the game. You're not hitting cutoffs. You're not, running bunt defenses and first and thirds and, different things like that. So that's a big piece. That stage from 12 to 13 is huge. I believe in teaching them the game. And then from there, it's, going from 13, 14-year-old to the high school level, preparing them for that, and then preparing them from high school to college. And then, whether they go JUCO or Division I, Division II, Division III, I mean, doesn't matter where you go, honestly. I think a lot of young baseball players don't realize how good college baseball is now. And that's something we talk about with other coaches and stuff. Like, one of the big things you might say is, years ago, you used to have to be a good player to go play college baseball. You're a good player. Now you have to be really good. It's not easy. Not everybody can do it. So, again, from high school, preparing them for, wherever they're going, getting them to be prepared to go to the next level, and then, take it from there. So as far as the development piece, I mean, I don't think much has changed. What's changed is the recruiting landscape and, where are they going after high school? Are they ready for Division I? I mean, listen, every young kid has dreams of being, playing Division I baseball, being at the College World Series with LSU and Coastal Carolina and, Arkansas. It's everybody's dream. It's just that I don't think a lot of these young baseball players are being told the truth, and a lot of the parents don't understand the level of Division I baseball, the level of college baseball and what you're competing against. Coming out of high school, you're 17, 18 years old. You haven't gotten your man muscles yet. They've proven that, young men don't really stop growing until they're 26. So, it's hard to come out of high school at 17 and 18 And now because of the portal and, transfers and JUCO, compete against guys that are 21, 22, up to 25 years old. It's grown men against boys, really. So, and I don't think they understand that. So I think a big piece too with high school coaches and something different, with me is when I was in high school, I was always, trying to prepare them and help them get to the next level. In travel ball, it's educating them, talking to them, meeting with the parents, the families to kind of find the right fit. Everybody's got a fit. You just got to find the right fit. It's not always the social media post on Division One. There's a reason why the portal right now is majority of the freshman class. The percentages are off the charts. It's pretty much all the freshmen that committed early and then get there and now they're competing against grown men, and it's just not fair. Physically it's hard. I mean, you got the freaks, don't get me wrong, but guys that throw 93 and 94 and 95, the kids, they're the easy ones. I mean, I had a pitcher years ago, 95, 96 with an 88-mile-an-hour slider. It wasn't very hard to get him recruited. I just handed the phone to him and gave the Division One. Every Division One coach in the country was calling at that time. But even that's changed a little bit now. So, but yeah, as far as development, it's about that's pretty much the same of developing and getting to where they need to be. But it also is, are they willing to put in the work? My brother and I, who, my younger brother, he's 10 years younger than me. So I had an opportunity to help him not to make the same mistakes I made, going from high school and being ineligible and fooling around. And he ended up going to junior college, Lewisburg Junior College. And he got a scholarship to go to the University of Pittsburgh. Then played 7 years pro ball. Had an unbelievable high school career. But he put the work in, and he worked hard for everything he got. And it's funny. We'll talk to players, and he kind of made this one his line, but I've stolen it from him. You'll have players that come up and say, "Hey, coach, I want to be a Division I baseball player." The first thing we tell them is, "Okay, break up with your girlfriend." And they just look at us like we got four heads. And I'm like, "No, break up with your girlfriend, quit your job, and get every single distraction out of the way." And they're like, and we're joking kind of about, but I'm trying to make a point of anything that's going to take you away from that dream of being a Division I baseball player. You need to eliminate it, because girlfriends are going to get jealous that in the cage hitting instead of going out on dates with them. You know what I mean? And then it becomes a distraction. So now I'm not saying that every high school kid needs to go break up with their girlfriend, but you kind of understand what I'm talking about is, they want to focus on the two things they need to focus on is what they can do on the baseball field and what they can do in the classroom. And that's really the major two pieces.
Yeah. One, I like that you highlight the distractions because it is, like you said, it's some girlfriends you might actually be able to make it work, but it comes down to how is that dynamic? I mean, that's with anything is like, anything can be a bad thing. Like we talk about, like there's always a conversation about alcohol, just as an example. Like alcohol can be a really bad thing, it can be an okay thing or a healthy thing even. And so it's like where is that balance? And really I think it goes back to athletes understanding themselves, and that's something I want to ask you about is how can athletes better understand themselves in terms of, you talk about good versus great, like all those types of things. How can they better understand where they are truly at?
I think that they have to trust their coaches. I think they have to trust the people. Now listen, in everything, you have some good ones, you have some bad ones, you have some guys that are out just to build their own program. And, I think you see that a little bit more in travel ball sometimes. One of the things that made us successful was, it was a family atmosphere and we really put the players first. But players trusted us. Like when we would sit down and meet with them and kind of lay out the plan or the picture, they would understand it. And I think a lot of players today, they don't want to accept some of the things you want to tell them. Listen, it's understandable. You don't want to kill dreams. That was our, tagline or slogan was dream big. We wanted everybody to chase their dreams, and we would tell players like, listen, if you have a dream to play college baseball, it's our job to find you a place. And we would work hard, whether it was junior college, Division III, Division II, Division I, NAIA. You're a college baseball player. You're going to have opportunities. But I think that that's kind of a piece of the puzzle right now is they got to trust the coaches and the guys who do this for a living. Like this is what we do 24/7. Baseball is an interesting sport sometimes. It's because everybody, has their, or someone told them something, someone told, but it's the only place where people that aren't a professional that will sit down and tell you, well, no, this is the way it is. And you're like, no, it's not the way it is. Like, you're getting some bad information. So, but yeah, I think a big piece is trusting them and then allowing them to help you find the right fit. I preach that there's a right fit for you. When I recruit, just to give you an example, when I recruit here at the college, I'm not always looking for the most talent. I'm looking for the right fit. The guy who's going to buy into what we're teaching, the system here, the philosophy, the family atmosphere, the brotherhood. Guys who come to this program and it's all about them, they're not going to succeed. It's not going to work. So, as a coach, you're looking for the right fit. And as a player, you should be looking for the right fit. And I think that they need to understand that. But also today, it's like the math is there. 1 plus 1 equals 2. It doesn't equal 7 or whatever. It equals 2. So, you tell them, hey, listen, go look. You want to go to Clemson. Okay, great. Or you want to go to Arizona State or whoever, wherever you want to go, Division 1. Go look at the type of player they recruit in your position. If they recruit 6'2" shortstops that run 6'5" 60s and have a velo of 92 across the diamond or whatever, and you're 5'8" and you don't match up to that stuff, it's basic math. That's not and it's nothing against you. It's just that's the way they recruit. So I think players need to accept that, and again, forget that the times that it used to be like are past now. Those days aren't coming back anytime soon. I've been telling a lot of people and a lot of players, and I think you saw it this year in the draft. It's almost looks like it's going to start to get easier to get drafted than it is to get a Division 1 scholarship. Like as crazy as that sounds, but it's almost like they flipped. Whereas professional baseball used to wait for the colleges to develop the players and then grab them. Now they're grabbing these young kids and saying, "Hey, we'll develop them." So it's interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of high school players. I watched the first couple of rounds, and I did see, and I mean, I also know a lot of local ones that got drafted too, and a lot of high school players for sure still.
Yeah.
I really like too that you emphasize the right fit piece, because I think again a lot of athletes don't think about that. They don't think about, it's like, okay, it is kind of like a dating relationship where you kind of got to make sure that it's the right fit. Otherwise there's just going
Yeah.
to be a lot of butting heads, and it's not going to flow well.
And you have to trust. What I tell a lot of people when they're looking for programs or looking to get recruited. And again, I could. Again, I'm in a situation where I've been at all, owned a travel organization and have helped kids get to college, and prepared them for that. Coached at the high school level at a very, program that we built from the ground up, and now at a junior college. So I've been at every all sides. But the biggest thing I think is that these athletes, again, I go back to the trust, but they need advocates. You need an advocate. Like what made us successful is my brother and I were advocates for the players in our organization. Like we kind of knew, because you develop relationships with college coaches and you have relationships where, it gets to a point where, there's some coaches that I could call and say, hey, listen, I got a kid for you. And they're like, I don't even need to see him. If you're telling me he's a fit for me, I know he is. You know what I'm saying? And then there's other programs where they're okay, they want to see him, but you kind of know the personality of the player, the type of player he is. Like, you don't want to put a player in a situation where I know he's not going to be able to handle that style of coaching. Or, so you want to help them out. And again, you need advocates that are going to make phone calls for you or, talk. If you have a bad day, and you don't have anybody that has a relationship with some of these college coaches, well, what do they do? I'm done. I'm out. Cross their name off the list. But if you have advocates for you where they could call and say, hey, John, I know, I saw so-and-so the other day, and it looked like he struggled, and I know you said, go see him again. Trust me when I tell you he's going to throw 89, or he's going to do this, or he's going to do that. He had a bad day. You don't know if something happened personally, like, and sometimes we don't find out until afterwards. A kid would go to a tournament and just look off and play horrible over the weekend. Emotionally, he just wasn't there. Come see him again in 2 weeks, or let's set up a workout, or, and, you're advocating for the players. And I think that's a big, big piece that you need when you're, I mean, high school is high school. You're going to go to high school unless you go to private school, but you're going to go to one in your, township or region or whatever. But with travel ball, I think you do have to kind of look for programs that, really do advocate for their players.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think about it like the business world as well. It's like, yeah, it's that networking piece. Like you have to have the right people to give you those opportunities, especially in certain industries. Like I know
Mm-hmm.
engineering or like the tech industry right now is like really difficult. It's like, yeah, like you have to know people, and that's where, athletes, like if you're looking at the statistics of the 7% that actually play college ball. It's like, yeah, like you got to have everything that's in your favor, and that includes having somebody, like you said, by your side supporting that.
No, and you're absolutely right. It's about relationships and, and it's about, helping kids get to where they want to be. Like one thing I tell a lot of players, and I have every cliche imaginable. I'm 53 years old, so I've been around for a while, but I can get them to where coaches are coming out to see them. There's no doubt about it. You can make phone calls and, hey, come out and see them or run an event or something like that. But it's almost like, I tell players all the time, you're like a red, shiny Ferrari. You know what I mean? When these coaches are coming to look at you, I said, we can sell a Ferrari to anybody. They see a beautiful Ferrari sitting on the showroom floor, they're going to like it. They're going to be very interested in it. But if they pop the hood and there's no engine in it, they're never buying that. No one's going to buy that Ferrari, and that's what I try and tell them. Like, you're the Ferrari, but you need to be the engine. You have to have the engine. Like, you got to show them that this is what you're able to do. And if it doesn't work out, it's nothing against you. It's just that wasn't a good fit for you. Or that just wasn't your time. And a lot of it sometimes has to do with right place, right time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, and I like that car analogy. I use a lot of car analogies with the food side too. What about, you talk about travel ball, there's the showcases, the prospect camps. How do athletes find a balance between that need for exposure and actually like developing?
Well, it depends. I mean, listen, it depends on the organization you're in, obviously. In travel ball, you're not going to practice, 5 days a week. You're going to practice 2 days a week, and then you're going to play on tournaments in the weekend. And the development comes from what you're doing when you're not there. Like, too many players want to show up to practice 2 times a week and then go play in a tournament and think that's enough. It's not. It's what are you doing? Like you hear it all the time. What are you doing when no one's watching? Are you getting up in the morning and taking 500 swings off a tee? Are you, fielding ground balls? Are you working on your footwork? Are you working on, your balance, your swing, because we'll give everybody homework. When you do lessons, you don't need to see someone 5 days a week to make him a better hitter giving lessons. What you do is you work with him and you give him homework. And then you're able to tell, like, hey, this kid did his homework. He comes back and you can see he put in the work. Or you comes back and you can just look at him for a minute and be like, you didn't do a thing I told you to do while you were going. So, in the same sense, it's like you can't ask me for certain things and help us do this, but you don't want to put the work in. So the development piece, it does. It comes from the right organizations and growing up in the right organizations and stuff and um, getting with the right hitting coaches or pitching coaches and listening and developing through them. But the big piece is what are they doing when they're not at home? Like, I give guys stuff to do, and you see the ones that do it because they get better because they're training, they're in the gym. Some kids just they're hungry for it, and then some kids just want to give it to them. You know, but it shows up. What are you doing in the classroom? What are you doing everywhere? So nothing's going to be given to you. I tell every player that nothing's going to be given to you. In baseball, you have to earn everything you get, and if you put in the work, you're going to see the results and opportunities. Your opportunities are going to open for you because of the amount of work you put in. You're opening the doors. So because as a coach in travel ball too, it works both ways. Just like I told you, you have a coach that, I can call and say, hey, I got this kid for you. I don't even need to see him. It takes one player that you try and push to get somewhere and he goes there and fails out or doesn't put in the work to ruin a relationship. So as a coach, you have to, play both sides of that too. Like, there's some schools like I get where you want to go, but you're not going to fit in well there and I'm not going to ruin a relationship, so I think athletes have to understand that too. Like, we have to I want to send anybody that I help get to the next level. I want the phone call from the head coach saying, which I've gotten numerous times. Hey, John, That young man is everything you told me he would be. Like, I need 10 more of him. So, that's what you want to shoot for.
That's okay. So yeah, two phrases or two words that I think about when you talk about all that is you talk about work ethic and coachability. Like a lot of the athletes that or a lot of things you're describing, you're like, yeah, like the athlete needs to be, okay, I tell them this thing and they go and do it. And so as a college coach and as somebody who helps other players get to that college level, maybe with another college, what does that look like? What does work ethic and coachability look like from a college coach that's recruiting? Like what would you see in that athlete?
Well, first off, you're going to trust the coaches that he plays for or works with. Again, as big as baseball is, college baseball is as small as it is. Everybody knows everybody somehow, some way. I know every high school coach in my tri-state area, pretty much. I know every, organization, travel ball coach, like pretty much know all of them, to where when a player tells me, hey coach, I'm interested in this or interested in your school or something, my first step is to call their coach. I call them up and they tell me right off the bat, like, hey, John, I know your style of coaching and he's going to fit. You're going to love this kid. He's going to be great for you. I'll talk to the coaches and give them a call and find out what their work ethic is and what type of players, because everybody will paint a picture for you. Hey, I work hard, I do this, I do that. But I'm going to talk to their coaches and they're going to tell me right off the bat, like, this kid's a gym rat. He's going to go, if he's not hitting, he's not throwing, he's in the gym working out on speed and strength and all that stuff. I think a lot of people think in recruiting, it's what you do on the field. That's the focus. Is what do you do on the field is the main focus, but it's really not. I don't believe it is, because you're watching for what kind of teammate they are. If they strike out or they go sitting in the corner and sulking the whole time. Are they jogging off the field? They jogging on the field? Are they hustling? What's their pregame warm up? What do they look like in between? You go to an event and you're watching a player. Well, if I'm looking at a shortstop and it just so happens he doesn't get one ground ball hit to him, what just happened? So I'm watching in between innings. How's he? Fielding the baseball. Is he just going through the motions, lobbing it over, or is he kind of doing it with a game mentality? So that's the things we look at. Like, I used to tell players all the time, one thing about recruiting is once a coach likes you and really likes you, the next step for them is to try and find a reason why they shouldn't like you. You know what I mean? So, and that would confuse me. But I'm like, they're getting ready to invest in an athlete for 4 years, 2 years, 4 years, whatever. And a lot of these guys, it's their livelihood. They're going to feed their family based on who they bring in. And that goes for any college sport, So they want to see, I would have to have talks with parents and be like, I need you to go stand in center field. Don't talk during this game, because one wrong thing could turn a coach off. Because not only is your son getting recruited, you're getting recruited. People don't understand. You might be joking, but to them, their perception is their reality. So, and that's what we would try and tell players. Like, come to, when you walk up to the field, don't, just have slides on and, half ready. Like, come ready to play whatever game it is, because we're watching all the other stuff just as much as we're watching whether you go 2 for 2 or 3 for 3, or you could go 0 for 5, but if all the other things I watched checked all the boxes, I'm still going to be interested in you. So I think that's a big piece of it. But that's what I think a lot of coaches look for, and that's what we talk about. And when we're talking about players with one another, and letting them know, like, hey, this is the kind of kid you want, or this is going to be your fit, or just kind of take it from there.
Yeah, yeah. And I just want to highlight to the audience, this is the second episode I've recorded today where I've heard a coach say college coaches talk, and they talk to each other about other players. So be mindful of that. We spoke a lot more on the other one, but I wanna stress that.
But that's a piece, Nick, and honestly, that's a piece that a lot of players don't realize, is when you have these relationships with other college coaches and you help them and they help, you might have a player that you show them and they're like, listen, I don't need him, but give my buddy a call. He's the hitting coach at University of whatever, or he's he could fit in perfect there, and they'll talk to each other. Like I all the time, I'll get phone calls from other college coaches asking me about players that don't play for me, just somehow know them, and they'll call me and ask me about the player on the other team, and I'm like, give my honest opinion. So, or if I know that my good buddy who's the head coach somewhere is looking for a particular player, and I'm at an event and that kid fits the mold of exactly what he's looking for, I'm calling him up and saying, hey, there's a player here right now that you need to get on. Here's his name. And it happens to me all the time. And I don't think, I think where a lot of players mess up too, I don't want to say mess up, but make the mistake is when you go to these events, you got to understand, and I tell them all, you have to play in that event like every Power Four school head coach is sitting in the stands. Don't go play based on what you see. Like, and a lot of players I think go and are like, well, I don't want to go there. They don't perform like they should, but they have no idea who that coach knows or who he's helping or where he's going to be in the next 24 hours. One story I tell all the players, I had a situation years ago where, there was a player and he was this is he was a Division I player. There was no doubt about it. He was a Division I player. And we were in an event, and it's actually funny because there was a Division III coach there was talking to me about this particular player. He was a shortstop, and in my head I'm thinking he's not coming to, like, he's going to go Division I. Like, we're going to get him to a Division I school. Like, there's no doubt about it. He's a Division I player, and the guy was a friend of mine. But I didn't say that. I was just talking to him, and I'm like, yeah, great player, great athlete, great kid. And the kid played his butt off. That day, made some great plays, hit the heck out of the ball. And the coach went up to him afterwards and said, hey, I really like everything you did. I'm at this school, I'm at this program right now. And, I really liked everything I saw today. And, I'm sure the player was like, hey, coach, I don't want to go there. And I was like, listen, I get it, but you never know. Well, it turned out that he had just accepted a job at a Division I program that he was starting the next day. But he had obligations to fulfill from the other program, and he wasn't allowed to tell anybody yet. The next day, I got a phone call. Hey, John, I couldn't tell you this yesterday. I couldn't tell your player this yesterday, but I just started today at Division. We won him. So if he would have just went through the motions and had an attitude and didn't play the right way, he would have blew an opportunity that he never knew was there for him. So you never know what's going to happen. All these high school athletes, when you show up, man, you got to go 100% all the time because you truly don't know what's about to happen next or who's going to help you get somewhere. And that's a true story, not exaggerating. 24 hours and he was a Division I coach, and they offered him that week, and he committed, and everybody was happy.
Yeah. Dude, it's so funny how much overlap, because there wasn't a story tied to it, but this is very like similar to what I was just chatting with this other coach about. And it's, yeah, I mean, athletes, like, you have no idea. And so just putting on your best self, no matter who you're in front of, I think is huge.
Absolutely.
One thing to, like, as our final question here is, I really want to leave you space to speak on the JUCO route and
Okay.
why athletes should really consider the JUCO route, especially in this day and age.
Well, I ask every player when they come in here that I'm recruiting, what is your dream? What is your ultimate goal with baseball? Are you looking to play baseball, get an education, get a good education, and use baseball to just, you just want to play and be a college athlete and play baseball? Or do you want to play at the highest level possible? And some of them will say, I want to be a, engineer, and I want to do my years when I want to play baseball because I enjoy playing baseball. And, I want to go to a high academic Division III, or I want to go to, particular schools. And, you can focus on that. And that's fine. But then there are some players that will say, I want to play at the highest level possible, whether it's Division I, whether it's Division II, whether it's wherever. I want to play at the highest level possible. In today's day and age right now, junior college is the number one way to get there. Hands down, I believe. And, some might disagree, but I mean, just again, look at the way everything is right now. There's no other place you can go and practice from, we could have started on August 10th and practice till November 15th. I mean, that's 3.5, 4 months of baseball practice where you can play up to 15, 20 games in the fall, along with a scout day, along with inter squad scrimmages or our World Series. Our school has a full-time strength and conditioning coach, which is awesome to have at a junior college. So you're training twice a week, 3 times a week with him. And then you're going to go into the winter months where, you're going to be with the strength and conditioning coach and you can do group training and stuff. But then we start right back up. We end November 15th, we start back up January 10th. And now it's, from January 10th, it's 6, 7 days a week from then until the end of the season, which, depending on how far you go, could be June. And you're going to play 50 games. So, there is no place you can develop like that. It's just the math doesn't work. And I'm not knocking other levels, but they can play one scrimmage game and a certain amount of practices or a certain amount of hours of practice. No one can do what we can do. You can get drafted after every year of junior college, baseball. You go to a 4 year, you're stuck there. You really can't, depending on age or, but most likely it's not until after your junior season. The financial piece, coming here, I want to say it's $2,500 a semester. Out of state might be a little bit more, but you're paying $5,000 a year, maybe 8 tops. And, in 2 years, you're not going to have any, debt, and now the goal is for you to come here for 2 years and we're going to hopefully get you a scholarship to go play at the next level. I had 4 kids this year, five players that, they didn't go Division I, but they got full scholarships to go play Division II baseball. So they're getting a free education because of baseball, and they're playing at the highest level they can play at. Academic support, there's so many benefits. There's the financial piece, there's the development piece, which there's none greater than junior college baseball. And, Division I coaches, they want junior college players, like we said before. Murray State had 18 junior college players on their team this year. That's what helped turn that program to what it became, and now what they're going to continue to do. Because why not take the guy that's developed? I want to take the guy that has, like I said before, 150, 160, 130, that many games under their belt in 2 years because they're proven that they are a college baseball player, played at a high level because a lot of people mistake how good junior college baseball is too. Like, it's very high level baseball. When guys come here, you have a 35-man roster, 45-man roster. You have so much baseball that you can play that you're going to get so many more opportunities. But when you're at a certain another division where they might only be able to play one game in the fall or one day of baseball in the fall, and they have 40, 50, 60 kids on there. I know some schools that have 90 on their roster and have JV teams. How much development are you getting on one day of games compared to 20? And then play 50 in the springs. And there's just so many benefits to it. Like I said, the financial, the athletic, the academic piece. We tell these young men coming here, we want to get you geared up to get your associates. We want you to have your associates. However we need to do it, let's get your associates. And your first 2 years of college, it's pretty much a lot of the same classes too that you're paying a lot less money for. And when I talk about 5,000, that's even before financial aid. I remember just a personal story. When my daughter was coming out of high school, we went and visited these colleges, and I'm looking at 50, 60, $70,000, and I'm walking around this campus like, oh my God, I'm going to be broke the rest of my life. This is never going to work. So we went and looked at all the campuses, and then we looked at Camden County College, and she came up to me one day and she said, you know what, Dad, I want to go to Camden County College. That's where I want to go. She ended up going with financial aid and stuff. I believe she came here for like $2,500 for the entire year. So it's a no-brainer because when you come out of college, the world's going to punch you in the face and it's going to keep punching you. And, we want to prepare you for success, on and off the field. That's kind of the mindset. So I think that's really the big benefits of junior college baseball is, I really can't find a lot of them. I try and look for them sometimes, and there isn't a lot. There's not a lot of negatives because you're getting your opportunity to chase that dream that you want to get to. So, and that's why we're seeing kids commit early now. Like, you're seeing these, I'm getting 2026 kids, like I told you earlier. I think I've done about 15 visits in the past 2 weeks, and it just came out of nowhere, and now they're committing, and then one commits, another. And, now there's opportunities for them to, graduate early and start classes so that when they walk in as a freshman, they already have 15, 20 credits under their belt. Now they're already, a quarter of the way to their associates. So, it's to me, it's phenomenal opportunities to get where your ultimate goal is. And if you're going to be, if you have the ability to be a Division I baseball player and you put in the work, you're going to get that opportunity in 2 years somewhere, and if you're not a Division I baseball player, there's nothing wrong with going to a Division II school and getting a scholarship and going for free. There's nothing wrong with going to a Division III school at that time, a high academic Division III. Now you've shown that you can do it for 2 years. Now you're going to get a bunch of academic money, and either way, you're lessening the cost at the end. I mean, 2 years of debt is a lot better than four.
Yeah.
Depending on where you go.
Yeah. No, there's so many reasons, and that's why I wanted to bring you on here, is to really speak to that, especially because you have seen it at all the different levels. So, I really appreciate you hopping on today, John. What's the best way for athletes to connect with you, whether it be asking questions, seeing what's going on at Camden County, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, they could just go to our website, the athletic website, You just could Google Camden County College Baseball, and it'll take them right to our page. And my cell phone number's on there, my email address is on there. I'm willing to talk with anybody and help them. If they find this is the right place and the right fit for them, I want to help them get here. And help them chase that dream, keep chasing that dream, and do everything we can. So yeah, it's easy to get in touch with me. Just go there and it has all our information there. And, if they're local or something, I mean, I'll get emails from kids in Texas like, hey, coach, I'm playing in this tournament this weekend. And I'm like, yeah, we don't have that kind of budget that I can fly out to Texas to see you on a weekend. Local kids, we're out every weekend, our staff. I'm trying to, look for the next, kids to come in. And, one thing I did a little different this year, not the difference, but it's a new step, is we just hired a assistant coach here that is actually going to focus on kind of like a recruiting coordinator, but focus on bringing in baseball players, recruiting them in. But also his other job is going to be helping all our sophomores get to the next level, making the phone calls to the college coaches and stuff like that. Like, yeah, he might come and throw BP and do stuff like that, but his main focus is going to be recruiting in and helping recruit out. I don't know if there's other schools that do that, but that's something we implemented this year in hiring him, and he's very, very well connected where he can call almost any Division I coach in the country. I mean, people will call him left and right asking him for players. It was a great fit to help these junior college guys get to the next level. So there's a lot of great opportunities here, and again, it's great baseball. We have a great support system here. Our president, our vice president, they're investing in athletics here, all sports, because they want to help kids, get, well, I hate when you say kids, but help young athletes get to where they want to go. And they're going to support them we're going to make a well-rounded athlete when they leave here in 2 years, academically, socially. We're trying to teach young men, they're going to be husbands and fathers someday, teaching about character and morals and stuff like that. And I mean, don't get me wrong, all coaches do that, or I hope they do. But yeah, we're looking to, help them grow as players. I tell players all the time when I was a recruit, when I had kids coming in high school and now coming to junior college, I tell every player I recruit, if all you are is a better baseball player in 2 years or 4 years, I failed as a coach, because that's not why. You shouldn't come here just to be a better baseball player. You should just be a well-rounded student athlete, person, everything. So, everybody wants to hold all players accountable. Here, we want to help them become responsible. Responsible is the big word for us. Are you responsible to wake up every morning? Are you going to be responsible to do your work? Are you going to be responsible to be on time? Are you going to be responsible to do, so yeah, everybody wants to hold people accountable. We want to hold people responsible. So, it's, I think it's a great place to be, and we're seeing the success here. I took over the program here 2 years ago. They had 4 players. I walked into my first team meeting, and there were 4 players there. First year we did a club season, and our second year brought in a class. Last year we went 27-17. We're ranked 13th in the country, led the country in stolen bases, broke all kinds of school records, second team All-American, 4 all-region players, and it's just growing now. So, and these kids are going on to play at the next level. That's the big piece, is they're here and then they're going on to continue to play if they want to. Some kids might decide after 2 years, I'm good, but anybody that wants to play, we're going to find them a spot. So.
That's awesome. I just wanted to, again, thank you for hopping on today. And for anyone wanting to connect with John, check in the show notes for all of his links. But John, thank you again for hopping on. Like,
I appreciate being here, having me, and anything you need, feel free anytime. I'd be glad to talk or help in any way I can.
yeah, I appreciate that, and thanks. For listeners, like, make sure you're really thinking about these things. Go follow John. Go, like, really, like, assess yourself and where you're at, and like think about how many cool opportunities you will have at a place like Camden County. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
one thing I want
again,
to say, Nick, if I could say one more thing, I don't mean to interrupt you. I apologize. What I want players to understand, it's not them. It's the system right now. You know what I mean? Like a lot of players are getting discouraged because they don't feel that they have to understand it's not their ability, it's not their talent, it's because of what's going on in college baseball and recruiting right now and the whole world of it. So, keep chasing your dream and don't get discouraged because it's not your fault. Like stay focused on that. It's not your fault that in 2 months, pretty much every Division I program in the country is going to cut 6 kids. Like where are they all going? They're going to transfer to places that normally people might be looking at a high school player to come in, but they're going to take the kid that just got cut from a big time Power Four school or a mid major or something like that. So it's not them. You're going to get your opportunities. You just got to keep fighting to get there and don't get discouraged if you're not getting the looks now that you want. Because if you put in the work, you're going to get them either in a year or 2 years.
yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's a good reminder and a good perspective for the athletes. So thank you for that.
No, absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate your time and good luck with everything you're doing. It's great to use your platform to help all these athletes too.
Yeah, thank you for that. And for the listeners, like, my last piece of advice, as always, is to keep striving for greatness.